What's up? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Art First. Happy Friday, Brian.
Good afternoon. It's great to see you. RIP to NFTs and crypto. Everything's dead except for the hundreds and thousands of NFTs that are continuing to sell, including congratulations to your 3 one-of-ones that sold on Super Rare today.
Thank you so much, and thank you. I appreciate you kicking off the auction, even if you didn't win the auctions. I did not know you were going to do that, and I am grateful for you. And I am very, very grateful to everybody who participated. I'm very much looking forward to it. I got Chikai, Patillo, Along. They're all going to be joining the conversation. And everybody else who really just like promoted this. I'm very grateful for you guys. And there's more to come. So there's a whole other thing that's coming soon. I'll talk about that another time, but that's not why we are here today. We are here today because we are going to talk about other art. And I'm very excited to talk to our guest because I usually get very excited to talk to people who do things that I have no clue how to do, cannot wrap my head around it, and I can just sit back and kind of learn. And so today, our guest falls squarely in that category, for me at least. Incredible, talented code artist, generative artist. Welcome, everybody, to Art First. Harvey Rayner, hello. What's going on, dude? Welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here.
No, I mean, we've been trying to get you on for a minute here. I mean, I've been following your journey since your first Art Blocks drop is when you first came into my radar, and that was 2021, I believe, right?
It was 22, I think. Yeah.
Was it really?
Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah. I missed 21, unfortunately.
What is life? Okay. What is time? We assume everybody has been here as long as we have. Like
all those years are a mush, right? Anyways,
but it's all 1 year.
But it's been amazing to see kind of how you've developed that style, kind of branched it into different kind of mediums, different chains, different outputs, and then getting to see your physical works at Marfa was also incredible. So we have a lot to cover here, but I'm just kind of curious about when you approach a project. Do you sketch it out? Do you start with like a base code that is like your kind of foundation code you like to start from? Like how, when you go, say a gallery approaches you and say, hey, we want you to make a piece for us. Where do you go from there? Do you have a bunch of works in progress, or do you what's your starting point?
And I should also, I'm going to put your, some of your work up on the side here because it's so detailed. It's so gorgeous. And I will let you start with Brian's question there.
I always have a bunch of projects on the go, maybe 3, 4, 5 projects at any one time, and I'll kind of like bounce in between those. But I'll often start work just with a piece of paper. Actually, I'll have an idea for a primitive, an essential sort of building block, and then I just use the paper to just try to work out how I'm going to translate that into code. And that's usually, for me, it's some pretty simple kind of trigonometry. It's no advanced mathematics or anything. It's just kind of working out how we're going to plot this stuff on the screen. And then once I've got those building blocks, I'll start to build an algorithm around that. And often, I have a vague idea of where I'm heading, but until I've kind of taken those primitives and put them into an algorithm and multiply them on, like you see that one there. Like once you see 1,000 of those primitives on the screen at once with all the variation and little twists and turns of each time, time it's looped, you don't really know how it's going to come out. But yeah, often it's kind of, I'll start with a very simple idea for a primitive, maybe a compositional idea, a basic sort of structure. I mean, this project here, Amplitudes of Canvas, I mean, it's so simplistic in a way in terms of the compositions, but you're just starting with a basic kind of arch on, every composition is a kind of an arch like that. But I found over the years, for a very sort of like dynamic, strong composition, they tend to have very simple sort of like structures. certain sort of dominance in direction, a sort of dominance. It's sort of simple. It starts with a very sort of simple concept.
So you start out with a non-randomized kind of base build,
Yeah.
and then you just go through each of those components and figure out how to kind of vary them. Because what I think is really interesting about your work is that all of the pieces seem to blend really well. Like looking at this piece, like you have all these textures and stuff that kind of makes them all work together. Is that something from the start, or do you start with something without any of that and you're just building blocks?
Well, as soon as I start to code it up, as I build the thing to, everything that I put on the screen is varied. Everything that every sort of coordinate point that's drawn usually goes through the sort of like the random class, and it just gets wiggled around. So, and that's the same for color. Even in this output here, those blues, the light blues, maybe they look all the same, but they modulate every time I render a color. It goes through the color algorithm, and it will be varied slightly. So, so generally, as a kind of like it's not like a hard and fast rule, but everything that I plot on the screen has to go through the random class to some degree and kind of get modulated very slightly. And I think that's what, if you say, it's one of the reasons I use sort of like generative color. I never use sort of fixed color palettes, because as soon as you've got the same thing sort of like plotted on the screen, identical each time, it's surprising. I think the eye can kind of like detect that, and it notices it. Even if you don't notice it consciously, you can see that something is kind of like repetitive. So for the sort of look I like to go for, obviously this sort of deeply layered texture sort of look, that everything has to have this sort of quality that it's not quite the same every time it appears on the screen.
How much of this is random, and how much of this is control? Like, how much randomness do you allow to?
Good question. So it's always a balance, I find, with this medium. Obviously, so I say everything goes through the random class, but obviously you set, for everything you set sort of like bounds how much you want to vary that thing. So that's kind of where the artistic kind of input is kind of like finding kind of constraints, sort of, and often I won't just say, okay, vary this thing between X and Y. Not X and Y, is probably A and B, let's say. What I'll say is, like, for 80% of the time, vary it between this particular constraint, and then 20% of the time, let's have some really crazy sort of like extend those variables sort of a little bit more. So
That's
it's
cool.
more of a sort of a curve, sort of like a
Do you find yourself ever running into like happy accidents where you let it do something, it does something unexpected, and you kind of pull on that thread to continue down?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm always kind of hoping for all day long. I think on my bio, I can't remember what did I say in my bio, but it's gorgeous. Like I think I've called myself a purveyor of imperfection and accidental beauty. But
you did.
So yeah, and that's the same in paint. I used to be a painter. I used to sculpt and draw. So it's the same process in a way. You're looking for those little happy accidents.
But I mean, the variance of this project, especially, it's so, I don't know, so complex. It's amazing to like see them laid out like this.
This project, I think, is definitely my most varied long form project, and for me, it set like a new kind of like bar of what I expect from a long form project.
Is this the first time you used like handwriting in the works?
So it's it's generative handwriting, obviously, but yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, how does that?
A font that you created, or how is it writing this generative?
It's not font, no. So every time, say, an A is produced, it's different. It's slightly different. So with this project, well, with many of my projects, actually, I love having text in art, but the problem, the trade-off with that is that sometimes it'll make it look like a poster. It gives it a different feel. It looks more like maybe if you use an actual sort of like clean font. It often look like sort of commercial design. But I love text because it just creates a different texture, and you read it in a different way just because we know it's text, so it creates this sort of like different sort of depth. You've got these different types of elements within the composition. So with this project, I tried all different kinds of fonts. I invented a bunch of fonts, but again, I keep hitting this kind of like this problem where it looked kind of graphical, looked too kind of more like illustration than I liked. So eventually, I settled on this idea of trying to replicate my own handwriting. And the way I did that was I just started writing. I just started with wrote a bunch of A's and kind of looked at, if I had to sort of like reduce this down to say 3 or 4 curves, I sort of like built an array of kind of points where those curves, and then each time the A is kind of plotted, it just wiggles those points around. But it got a little bit more complicated because I wanted them all to join. So then you have to have these sort of special joining conditions because letters join in sort of unexpected way. I mean, you don't realize when you're writing yourself how you join them. But so it was a few days of work, and then even to get it sort of like, this is all sort of vector based. So to make it look more like a graphite pencil kind of, I sort of like draw it, and then I draw it again 4 times, and each time it's varied very slightly with different sort of opacities, and it just softens that line. And that's something I do a lot because I use vector. But I often will repeat the same element many times, but swiggle it a little bit and vary the sort of opacity, and use a lot of dashed lines as well, which kind of softens the edge of different things. So
give it a little more texture.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just looks too clean and harsh.
Sure.
It's a really cool effect. It reminds me a little bit of like a Ken Burns documentary of like when they're like reading like a soldier's letter in the Revolutionary War over like a photo or something. That gives it this very kind of, I don't know, poetry documentary feel.
I like the fact that it looked a bit like kind of, it looked like I was scrolling in a notebook. These were my ideas, notes, and that's kind of why I used that sort of effect where I was kind of like overlaid them as if I'd gotten a razor and just kind of like scribbled. I also like the fact that they looked a little bit kind of crazy.
How long does it take to train it, to code this? Like, is it, what kind of, obviously you're working it and reworking it and looking at outputs and, like you said, doing handwriting to train this on. Like, what's the process like in terms of time? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use the word train. I mean, the train is kind of more associated with AI, where you're training sort of,
fair
models. So I'm kind of trained. In a sense, I'm kind of training. I'm tuning the algorithm, and I'm training myself, I guess. So, but I think this project, this was about like 2-3 months.
Yeah.
It varies. Some projects happen quite quickly. I think Fontana was like 6 weeks, and probably about 3 weeks of that was just tuning the color algorithm because I'd never worked that way before. But I tend to work on something it seems like 2-3 months is a sweet spot for kind of like bringing a project to completion. But I just got 2 monitors. I've got a fairly simple setup. I've got one I'll just have outputs. And I always build my, the algorithms like if it takes more than a couple of seconds to render, I can't go beyond that because I actually, rather than sort of like have something generate thousands of outputs and then I come in the morning and look at them, I like just to have something where I can just refresh it as I work on it. So this is partly why I work in SVG because it's so super fast that, even with all these hundreds of, sort of tens of thousands of objects, they still render, in a second, half a second to a couple of seconds. So, so I've got that on my right side where I can just refresh and I'll work on the code and I'll just go backwards and forwards like that. But I like to see the outputs big.
Speaking of the outputs being big, I know some of this is like we were able to just put the painting up the piece up as like a mock-up, but some of it, you're making prints of these, large scale prints of these. What's that process like in terms of?
Well, I do. Yeah. I mean, but some of the things on my site aren't.
Sure. Some of them are facsimiles.
I've mocked them up. So, but I just get all my printing done in Tribeca
Okay.
I keep meaning to buy a printer. I've got the space here. I've got another big room downstairs. But I'm terrible at buying. I've been meaning to buy a new computer for the last 6 years. I hate shopping.
Well, the
I don't
prints you
like
had in
That's okay.
Marfa,
I
the prints
just
you had
don't
in
like
Marfa were like
hardware
4
generally.
feet.
I don't like making choices about hardware, so I keep putting. If at some point I'm going to print my things in house, I guess, and then but
Mhm.
yeah, I just like making. Yeah, anything that tears me away from just sitting here and making more art just kills me. So I'm a bit like a drug addict, really. I don't
Yeah.
I don't like anything to get between me and my my art creation process. It's
Well, I
been,
love like Chat Fucker. If you can pull that one up, I think that that one's such a departure. It's like I don't know how to describe
Something's
it.
hot
It's
there,
a
yeah.
it's a PFP character project, but it lives within your world. But
Yeah.
it's also very crypto and memey and all this stuff. And I thought it was such a cool project. It was also on ordinals. I just love looking through these. They're so fun.
Thanks. Yeah.
The-
It was
Groovy text.
I've been working on because that project was always going to be dropped in batches.
Yeah.
Because I wanted this sort of epic variety, so I wanted to go
Oh, these
away
are
every
great.
1,000 and reinvent the thing. But I've been working on it recently, and the new version is animated.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of walking. It's called The Walking Fucked. But I have mixed feelings about it. I don't. This project was so, like you say, it's so different from everything else I do. It is, it does express a sort of part of my personality. I like to joke around. I have a pretty base sense of humor. I like drawing dicks on things. It's pretty childish, but so that project was kind of like a manifestation of that side of my personality, I guess. And but I'm conflicted about it. Sometimes I worry that it sort of like confuses my brand. Although I know a lot of people do like really appreciate it, and they appreciate the fact that I try different things.
I think it still very much looks like your art, though. So it doesn't
I think it
doesn't
does.
confuse it. I think
Yeah.
it leans into the culture of the space in a way that I think a lot of the biggest artists in the space do that, and nobody gets confused about who they are.
Right. No, it's true. Yeah, it felt much in a way that building that project felt so much kind of more multi-dimensional. I was thinking about all these different things I'd never thought about in relation to making art before. And it had channels on my Discord where I had people suggest traits, and of course I had the she fucker channel because I was getting into like trying to create female. And I just didn't want to do anything offensive, right? So I was getting into all this kind of territory that normally, obviously make an abstract art, you're fairly safe from. But
Sure.
But it was quite rich, and it was an interesting experience. And I'd say the other project they did like that was Quasi Dragon Studies, because, well, not like that, but I ended up kind of getting into kind of community politics with the way the project evolved, and I was a market maker at some point, and had to, the market for that game was really complicated. So once in a while, I think I like to do these crazy projects which take me out of my normal kind of like picture making routine.
Sure.
Speaking of getting out of routine, have you started using AI to help augment your coding at all over the past few years? I know some of the other art blocks artists have. I don't think there's anything right or wrong. I'm just curious if you're kind of a purist or if you're like embracing that aspect.
I've tried a little bit, but if I've got something really generic, I think with generative art, you generally don't, the code you're writing is, if I'm writing code in a way I wouldn't write if I was building, say, a website or something with utility, you end up building something very, very specific. And to be honest, like I don't use it hardly at all, because it's just like, it would be like giving an instruction to an intern. For me, writing code is so sort of like it's the most direct way I can speak to the computer. I think in code, I think algorithm, and it's the best way to think about algorithms for me personally. It's to like have to turn it into a prompt would be like a step backwards. I mean, I can't, you asked me how to, to explain what these algorithms are in natural language. I couldn't do it, but I express it directly to the computer in code. And so I think, that I do use it. I've started to use it a little bit just for fun to kind of share jokes between me and my friends, and I use ChatGPT for I don't know, interpreting spreadsheets and stuff like that. But I haven't in a way, it would feel a bit, it'd be like indirect. And plus, I love what I do. So it's not like I don't really want to farm out the thing I love to somebody else or some other entity. So at the moment,
I'm curious. I mean, I imagine it would probably break a lot of the stuff you do. Because I'm curious, at the end of the process, if you fed it your code and said, make this run faster or something like that, if it could do that without breaking everything.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it probably could. Yeah. Something like that. But then I'd have to
clean up.
I'd have to then go back, and if you've got a bug, one thing I've realized, if you don't write the code yourself, when you write every little part, because I use my own libraries, I don't use P5 and stuff. So it's just very direct. If something goes wrong, I know exactly usually how to fix it. I don't spend a huge amount of time debugging. I can write stuff, and usually, but I used to be a web developer and stuff. And every time I used an additional framework and stuff, it would save you time here, but then down the road, if you ran into a complex problem, you're then having to kind of reverse engineer somebody else's code base, and it's horrible. It just feels, So, yes, who knows? I don't like to say never, but at the moment, I
think it's got a ways to go before it can handle generative art. I agree.
Yeah, I haven't seen any good until I see an example of wow, that's a generative, an AI model that's made really impressive code-based art. I don't know what I'll do when I see that one.
Well, this right here is the work in progress. Is the new work. Why don't you walk us through some of this, because this looks both like it fits in your world, but is also a different contrast to what you were doing.
Right. So Monte Carlo is this project I've been working on and off for about 2 years now, and I had I wanted this game component to it, but now I've actually separated the two things. So now I have this pure card game that I actually took to Martha, and I had people just test the game with physical cards, and it worked really well. But it's it's pure card game now, and so I may just completely have the Monte Carlo project, which is like a pure art project, and then the card game, and then maybe the 10 winners of the card game will win free mints or something like that. But there's a sort of a visual kind of connection there. But for a long time, I was trying to meld the two together, and I just never found a way to do it which satisfied me, it just felt like it would create too many obstacles for certain collectors, which is something I learned with Quasi Dragon Studies. You create a project, if you create an art project where you're requiring people to actually invest a lot of time and energy, and some people love it, but it's a much smaller group. So I'm still on the fence. I keep going back and getting really excited about it, and then thinking, it's not quite right, and then I leave it for a while. And it's a nice thing about having
the cards were a hit.
The cards work really well. Yeah, actually, just had somebody. I just got some in the post. Actually, some winning hands. Which I'm going to frame and send them back.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is my work in progress page, but actually there's other I haven't got Chatfucker 2 on here. There's a few other projects, and I've started another one this week. Yeah,
I think a lot of people can relate to that, and just to your point earlier, where you're talking about the PFP versions of these, of your work and things, and worrying about what your work looks like in terms of being able to be recognized. I do think it comes through. I think that we as artists are generally harder on ourselves, and we don't think our work sometimes comes through and when we change things. But also, I think it's important that I mean, we're artists, like we want to explore, we want to learn and evolve, and to make stuff, and not worry about what, how it'll be received, right? If you feel like it's something you need to make,
Right.
you just make it,
Ideally, yeah. In an ideal world, I mean, I've spent, most of my life making art without any audience,
Mhm.
So I know, and there's always there's trade-offs to everything. There's a certain beauty to that. I gave up trying to sell it when in my early 20s. So I spent, I had a good 15 years where I was just making art daily, just for the sheer love of it. And but of course, when you're professional, then you've got to sell the stuff. So
Right.
it's very hard to never think about your
Sure.
audience. I think it's a balance. Sometimes, you've got to.
Sure.
If I were to remain full time, there's certainly, once you've built a project, you're thinking about how you're going to sort of like promote it and stuff. I really do have to think about,
Well, I think
I don't know.
That taps into a kind of a bigger question I have. Well, first of all, Vellum looks awesome. I think I met you the first time at the Vellum show at the
Yes.
Bright Moments event in New York. So I'm excited to see how number 2 comes out. But the idea of the audience, I think you more than many in the space are thinking about the mechanics of supporters, whether it's working with Eddie to do royalty tracking, or how, like, even here, a discount for Vellum 1 holders. How do you think about I'm just curious how your mindset is in this current environment about how to release art in a way that is both fair and makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I've thought about this a lot over the last year, and I think I've got something that's working for me at the moment. I mean, you never know what's down in the future, but so I think if it's the same if you're a business, right? You've got to, if you don't offer value to your loyal customers, then you're going to get in trouble sooner or later. So my model is basically to reward my holders. So now, because I'm a long form generative artist, I produce a large supply. I've got like 1,600 holders at this point. So I have a tiered system where every release are going to be, the more loyal you are, the bigger holder you are, and you're going to get cheaper prices, discounted prices, which is a bad word in art, discounting. I don't care. Everybody loves a discount, basically.
More affordable. Yeah.
And they'll be able to mint more. And then
Sure.
it's like a slide and scale. And then, and I want to do it fixed price. I think ultimately, auctions are generally dangerous. I mean, I can't. I've used them, of course. I mean, Vellum 2. I mean, Vellum 1 was an example, but it did sell, a crazy time. But now I think the last 3 drops I've done, Chatfucker, then Noodles, and this, I want to share it at some point, but I've got a kind of a pricing model where I'm looking to increment my prices just by like 5% a year, like 5%, and slowly build off that base, and offer sort of which I feel is like a fair price for my own market to those loyal collectors. And then obviously, if you're just, if the sale gets to public, then it's going to be more expensive, and people are only going to be able to buy 1 mint. But the last collection worked really well like that. It didn't get to public and it sold out really quickly. But I think it was, people, my collectors. One thing I did, I offered, I think, for my top 100 holders, based on the Deca leaderboard. They could mint 10 at a discounted price, and it was probably too many because a lot of people just thought, oh, free money.
Yeah.
And they, even some of my, it's too much of a temptation for some people, even like those people. But one thing I learned with that project is that some of those people who they maybe flipped 7, but then they went back and bought some more. So it enables some people to actually become like real loyal collectors of my work in a way which they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I'm actually not against, I don't want to just sell to holders who only hold, of course I've got, you want some of them as well, but it's nice to be able to release in a way where you're sharing the success of the project with your collector base at a sustainable price point. And then I think your own market as an artist is more resilient over time, and it's not going to be affected by these huge swings. So you know, in a bull market, you can still price very fairly, and then in the bear, your collectors will remember that, and then you can sort of price sustainably. And I've still, because I'm doing long form, I don't go through galleries. I'm doing this very sort of as independently as I can. I'm still doing well financially. I don't feel like I don't really care about what the market does, because I feel like I've got a very sort of sustainable model going forward. And I've for a long form generative artist, I think this model, well, so far so good, let's say. But I had to think about it for a lot. There's always that temptation to try to maximize the profit on a sale, and I just don't think long term it does you any good, really.
No.
We're still, all of us are only been here for a few years.
Yeah,
we're all at the beginning of our career, and though we've been making art for decades, some of us, we're still sort of building a career, and that career has to be built on a sort of firm foundation of incremental pricing increases. And then once we've been around for 20 years, then we can, and we've got an international kind of recognition, then you can start charging crazy prices, but not yet. It's too early.
Exactly.
It's not sustainable otherwise,
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of making a career out of art and being in the early stages, we do have some work from other artists that we could share today, and see if we can kickstart some of them and bring them into a bigger stage at some point. What do you guys think? We do a little show and tell.
Okay,
let's do it.
For it.
All right. And this is the part of the show where my mic cuts out consistently. Am I back?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
You can't.
Oh, now you're kind of going in and out a little bit, but it happens.
Waiting for
Might
it.
be because the volume is so high on it that it's readjusting your audio or something.
I like that. Let's see if this works. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. This is the part of the show where we have each brought 3 pieces of art that we've either collected or just think is really awesome, and the artists deserve a bigger spotlight. And we're going to try to do that here by sharing it with all of you. At the end of the show, later today, we will send out on our Twitter Art First show.
Oh, wait.
Oh, maybe?
No, I'm good. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Later on our Art First show on Twitter account, we post links to all the things we've seen today, plus the artists, and you can show them some love. All right. So, Harvey, we're going to start with you. And for the record, that was a fascinating chat. And I'm always like, I can just sit here and listen to more of this for a very long time. But the segues are difficult, but that was really awesome, man. Thank you for sharing all that. All right, let's start with this first artist here that you've picked up or talked about, Robert Baker, algorithmic artist. These are really cool looking.
Yeah, I mean, Robert didn't. He had I think he just created a Twitter account when he released this project. Maybe he had 50 followers or something. When I think when a minute.
They look like under
X-rays.
a microscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, X-rays under a microscope, like plankton and cytoplasm and words I don't know what they mean anymore. Look at that, though.
Really cool.
Those are really, really fun.
This one flew under the radar. I didn't see this one on Art Blocks this summer.
Yeah. I minted it. I'm not a huge collector just because it's a big emotional drain. But if I see a project like this, which I really feel like is going under the radar and I love it, I was definitely mint it, just to try to help, bring some attention to it.
And this would have been in the first, what was it? The first 500, right?
No, this was a studio release.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. And it's a video playback.
Maybe
I guess there's a live version, then they have the video.
Yeah,
I like the color one. That one's
Yeah.
neat. Little
yeah.
little variant there.
The forms are so just unusual. Like, you have not seen them before. I mean, yeah, they got this kind of almost organic quality to them, but they also got this sort of kind of geometric kind of property to them. And the thing
Yeah,
I
they
loved
have like
about it was like
a mirror.
it didn't look like algorithmic forms that had then been animated. The animation and the form seem intrinsically kind of like coupled together. Like
Mhm.
it's a very sort of pure distilled project and just I love the sort of, it's often hard to say what you love about it, right? But they're kind of just
Sure.
the
It almost
it looked like they could be something from like seen under a microscope or something in the real world that had this
Sure.
beautiful kind of analog, almost like an analog property
Yeah.
to them. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost feels like if there was a robot, right, and you were looking at a robot's DNA or cells.
Right. Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Quite
both organic,
mysterious.
but also, yeah.
It,
Very
it,
cool.
But
the thing
as
it
far as I
reminds me
know,
of is go on.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know any other projects that he's released. He's just came out of nowhere, and I'm sure he hasn't. But who knows? Maybe this
Yeah.
guy's got this huge, body of work. He didn't have an AB project before this, so I'm not even sure how he come to reveal it on Studio.
Interesting.
Maybe
Very cool.
Robert's
I
big on
wonder if he was.
Tezos, and I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's like a recent graduate or something.
Right.
Interesting. And it's all minted out, right?
Yeah, it minted out. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a great first drop.
It's like selling anything out. It's no trivial matter anymore.
No.
Like
No.
any form, and many studio projects haven't minted out. For someone like this with like 50 followers on Twitter, it just shows you that people have actually. I do believe actually the collector base that's remained here have definitely seen. Most people have seen now hundreds of, tens of thousands of images, and they have developed that sort of like sensibility. So I think this project shows that.
I really dig it. This is cool. Great find.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it up there. Here we go.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. There you go. Yeah.
All
The thing it
right.
reminds me of, which is a throwback, is when you used to play like the Tony Hawk games, there was this company called Neversoft that had like an eyeball that had like a stake that went through it.
Right.
And these all look like those eyeballs with they're speared.
Speared eyeballs. Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's go from one speared eyeball to something else that has like beautiful digital squish in human form. Bryan, this piece right here, I saw you collected this, and I was like, oh, that's gorgeous.
This is a cool piece. It's by Elnaz Mansouri. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Created with some AI, using a couple different AI applications and bringing them together. But I thought it was just a really striking piece. I mean, it's one of those things that comes across the timeline, and in the world of AI, there's a lot of like eye-catching stuff, but this one caught my eye both visually, and I think there's, some undertones to the storytelling of it that I think are really strong. And yeah, her work, I spent like a week or so digging through her body of work when I saw a few pieces on the timeline, and she has a very cohesive style that's really developing, that has this kind of dreamlike mixture of portraiture, and she also has you can click through the other stuff, but I just thought this was a really beautiful piece.
No, it is. It's gorgeous.
I like the name. It's really cool.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Look at that. This is great.
Yeah.
This is
Oh, wow.
light therapy mask.
Yeah.
Wow. I love all the little points of light.
Yeah. Very fiber optic.
Yes. It's also rare when you see AI art that doesn't immediately look like every other AI art. I mean, there's good stuff, but then it's like just as honestly with any art, it's hard to catch an eye on the timeline. And I remember when I saw you collected this one, that it stopped my scroll. I was like, "Who is this? What are we doing?" It's great.
Oh yeah.
Very cool. All right. Moving on.
What do you
Here's
got, Adam?
the piece that I thought was pretty cool. This is Fold by Skomra. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. It's visually it stopped me in my tracks. I loved the sort of it felt of crypto art, of the internet age, and that kind of art does tend to like hit me in a way that I want to know more. I want to see more. See if I can zoom in on this because
I'm
the
curious
textures are
how it's
beautiful.
made.
Anytime, and I know this looks like scales and whatnot, but anytime I see stuff like this, I get that nostalgia for, when you'd be in a computer interface and it wouldn't work, and then you'd blur and zoom, and you're dragging the cursor is like trailing forever, and you've made 400 instances of it, but to turn that into art is always.
Do we know how it's made?
I don't know how it's made. This is one of those. Let's see if we get any.
It says it's stable diffusion, so it must be AI using some sort of effect with AI. Because I was looking at it, and I was like, "Is that clone stamp? Like, how is this made?"
Is it part of a collection, or is it just a one-on-one? Be nice to see it next to some other work.
So I know this was in a recent.
It must be some wild workflow that creates this kind of 8-bitty effect. That's cool.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Yeah. That was
good find.
Cool.
Yeah, stable diffusion and diffusers textual inversion. I don't know what that means. I gotta look into it.
Yeah, Jono curated this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Harvey, let's go back here. This is for Monokai.
Yeah.
Different artworks that you identified here with a really cool interface, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the project on the right, top right, that was another studio. That's how I found this project. It was a studio project. I minted this one as well. I'm not sure if I minted out, but yeah, I thought it was stunning.
Yeah.
The whole website they've built there is really it just shows a lot of care and love for what they do. They obviously spend a lot of time just building this beautiful website, and the projects have all got this kind of real depth of craft.
Yeah,
how the project's
looks like
built.
medical, 3D medical render stuff. Like some blood cells and things.
I feel like this project and the other one we clicked on, it's using something similar to Peter Pasman.
Ray trace.
It's got this sort of it's almost like this subgenre of long form generative art, which I don't really know much about, to be honest. But I thought that the work had real heart and like just looked like they really enjoyed what they're doing.
Yeah,
which is important to me.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I love the plants, the way that's kind of graphically drawn out background to these.
I believe they're photographers. They do photography as well.
Wow.
We'll go back to that. I didn't even look at this project. Yeah.
No, this is.
I think
it's
yeah.
Sorry if there's is there.
Really great website.
Yeah, just the way this project built, I thought was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah, that'd be cool as a big print.
This is the part of the
Wait,
show
go
where we
back
just
one.
enjoy. Scroll up
The
or go
black
back
and
to
white one to the right. Go back page.
black and white to the right. This guy.
That one. I feel like I've seen this one before.
Whoa,
That's cool.
that is cool.
Tezos. Maybe that was an FX hash one.
Like striations and layers building up. It looks like
looks
an
like
elevation
coral.
map.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really
these are
cool.
Yeah, really cool, man.
And they've taken time to, write some material for all their collections, and
yeah, I believe this is all coded, right? I think,
yeah. I'd be surprised if that wasn't.
I mean, some people have time.
Yeah.
Nothing but time on your hands.
Right. I mean, you do see on Instagram, right? People making a mural with a ballpoint pen, and it's kind of just contours and contours.
Yeah. Days and days. Well, this is good.
Right.
I'm putting it on there, man. There we go. That's good stuff. All right, Brian, you're up next. Let's see. Let's go 1, 2, 3 over here.
Yeah.
There we go. Colors
There's a
don't
collection
matter,
called
number 13.
by AKC. The story behind this, well, one, there's a story about racism, and he created this project, and I think he made it a while back before people really knew about him in the space. And Kosher Cowboy minted, I think, all of it. He bought the whole project. And what he's been doing over time is just gifting them to people in the space and trying to help this collection get new eyes. And he was very kind to gift me one of them, and I wanted to share it. But I also, AKC's been kind of crushing it lately, doing these kind of humorous, colorful animations on Super Rare. This is very different from his style, and I think it's a really powerful collection. If you click on the whole collection, you can see it's a bunch of kind of portraits he created. And it really kind of flew under the radar. Yeah, it's from 2022. And yeah, just shout out Kosher Cowboy for bringing it to my attention and bringing me into it.
That was a nice gesture to buy somebody's entire collection. And then were they connected somehow?
I think he started looking into that artist and started digging around to see what was available, and he found this project that was minted from his wallet. Right. And there's a lot of that happens a lot in this space, where there's a lot of artists that were putting out stuff in 2021, 2022 that weren't making a splash and under the radar, and people kind of go back and find. I bought a piece from Manic Art recently. That was like a 2022 collection he made that never sold anything until people rediscovered it a month ago. Yeah. So there's a lot of gems. It's sometimes I think about OpenSea or Rarible as being this kind of garage sale. If you dig around, you might find some real gems.
Yeah, another place you can find that is group projects, group shows. I know there were a handful of those. A bunch of us joined. I was this close to getting a Claire Silver for pennies. and I was like, oh wait, hold on, I gotta get my wallet. And the next day I came back and someone else found it and scooped it. But if you know where to look,
yeah,
they're out there.
There's something fun about finding those gems.
There really is.
Panning for gold.
Yeah, I mean, so many people came in and threw stuff at the wall and just said, let's see what sticks. And then of those people who stuck around, smaller, but there's a lot of gold out there. Really cool, man. Very cool. All right, I'm gonna move on over here. I'm gonna say Kanek Zapata is maybe how to pronounce this artist's name. I've seen their work a bunch lately. AP collected, Wop Shop, and Lynette was also someone who, at least I saw it on her feed. I don't know. I love this piece, and I love some of the other work that I've started to see from this artist. It's
does it have
very
sound?
different. Yes, it does have sound that only I can hear. So the way that this works, and I'll link this to our Twitter later. Very much encourage people to go listen to it because it's wonderful. But No, this the way this works, I was not able to get the sound to transfer over, but it's fantastic, and it has music in it. It worked. Just I hadn't.
Oh wow, yeah.
And
You're
How
kind of
long is
cutting
this
out,
video?
Adam.
It's
Yeah, this is
like-
really cool.
yeah, it's really fun. And how is this made? Do we know? Is it?
so Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, other
Oh, wow.
tools.
That
You
kind of
know?
gives it away. Up in the top corner there.
the arm that is not broken.
I wasn't
Totally.
sure if that was AI until I saw that. Right.
No, but there's something
It's
going
really
on
cool
here.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. And the layers of this. I love the look. I love the graphic style of it. I don't know. There's a piece that I just saw on the timeline, but I don't know if it was minted. Let's see real quick if it was minted here. No, it wasn't, but it was sort of like all these like colors flying overhead, like a beautiful clouds and sky with like these sort of
It's really, yeah.
8-bit art flying over top of what looks like maybe a real river. See if I can find it later.
For being AI, it looks so unique. I've never seen anything that looks like this.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I imagine it's a combination of tools, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
And
I have no idea how you'd make
so
something like this.
it says here the music is Suno, so it's all different things that are coming together to make this AI piece. But for what it's worth, it doesn't. I don't know. It feels like the AI was used as a tool, right? Like, and not a
That's all it is. Really, it is a tool, right? So
it is. Some people rely in different ways on it, and I think this is an interesting one where you've got like 4 different things all coming together to tell a deeper story. Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Shout out Wop Shop for finding that.
Yeah, definitely worth digging in. All right, Harvey, you've got one more left. Let's take a look here.
I mean, Gozo just had a release on Verse, so they're not completely under the radar. But prior to that, I think they were to some degree. I thought these works were so kind of just dreamlike and so pared down and essential. And if you like, you can't really tell, but they've got this beautiful texture as well that is constantly kind of morphing when you see them. Yeah, they're just GIFs. I think there was. I didn't hear the interview, but I guess there were somewhere I've heard them talk about like why they use GIFs, just because this is very sort of self-contained, kind of limited. Obviously, you've got a certain, if you want to share them on Twitter, you can only make them so big, and they like that constraint. This one, I really like this one, but they seem very pure and true to the GIF medium.
Yeah.
And just very strange, very evocative, kind of a, I would personally really like work that stirs me emotionally, which is, but it's kind of strange considering I decided to make art with code and mathematics, but that's what stirs me, I guess. Probably is what my wife would tell you.
No, that's really cool. I mean, it's all very mesmerizing.
Yeah,
and that subtle kind of warp really adds a lot.
And so many of them are these sort of like vague representations of known forms.
Yeah, they're not quite anything particular, are they? They're kind of familiar, but they're kind of not.
Right, like I looked at this from a distance, I saw a turntable.
Right.
But then you get here and you're like, oh no, like it's almost alien in nature, like
very alien. Yeah.
another species trying to distill or simulate what it thinks that we know, and then you see something like this, and very dreamlike, where you're like, oh, that's not exactly how that's.
Very cool. Great find.
Yeah.
Gozo.
So
I think they've done quite well on their sale. I don't know.
Adam, you're underwater again.
I'm underwater. Why?
Maybe you're talking away from the mic. I'm not sure.
We got to turn this into an ASMR show. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get up there, eat the mic. All right, Brian,
You're
this
good.
is your last piece for today. This was bummed.
This collection got some heat in the past week or two. Shout out to
huge
Orkin, one of the few artists that had a big sellout in this past month of market.
It's so good.
It's a crazy collection that is interactive. He basically, I think he worked with this company that he kind of announced a little bit. I forget the name of them, but he took these kind of Renaissance paintings and then created all these variants with AI, and you can go through and interactively change the image and kind of reimagine history. And so you can, like, I would think he should have a different hat, and you can click it and give him a different hat. And it's just a really, really cool way of creating this kind of AI interactive piece. There's all, if you load up the actual NFT, then you can, like, it's almost gamified, where it's like, you've found 20 of the 25 changes you can make, and you can click around and try and do them all, kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, he's always pushing the AI works, and it's really cool to see this one come out and do well.
I loved it. I thought this was brilliant, and so much fun to play with. And
the interface really adds to it's really integral part of the work, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea to swapping out elements could be interesting, but then this extra layer of these kind of rectangle, this resizing sort of graphical elements really give the project depth.
Yeah,
it's great.
And it's got that surveillance feel where it has like the little labeling of everything.
Right. Yeah, look at that. It's a really great commentary. Oh man, I would want to see this on a large touch screen in a museum, and just go and just.
I think this would work really well in a museum, because it's almost there's a sense in which it's kind of like educational. It's showing you what AI, or one aspect of what AI can do in a very sort of like clean way. Yeah.
It also speaks to like the shared memory of like, what and of history, being able to change it. And this is brilliant. It's a great project, man. Very cool. All right. I think we got one more piece left. This piece here, the beautiful Michael Focus of Gant is the artist Gant. I don't really know much about them, but I saw this, and I don't know that they're super active, to be honest. When I went to go find them, I found them on Twitter, but I just thought this was a really beautiful piece. And there you go. There's just a little more about the piece. It's something about it. The colors, the textures, they stuck out at me. So I wanted to bring.
I love it. I really like that kind of blue outline on the shapes.
Yeah.
It has kind of a heat map feel, but also like throwbacks like Warhol portraiture, but also just kind of warpy, almost like a zombie face. But yeah, really neat. Really cool texture.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it part of a collection?
So it says Transgression is a collection of portraits.
Yeah. There was a handful of them.
Oh yeah. A bunch available. That one's available. There you go.
Yeah, man.
Good find.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, there will be links to this and all the work that we talked about today, so people can go give some love to those artists, and drop comments and maybe even pick up some art. But before we go, Harvey, got anything you wanna pitch or stuff coming
Plug.
up? Plug, talk about? I don't know.
Um,
Like to give you guys the last
I
word.
I don't have anything. I'd like to release something else by the end of the year. I try to do 2 projects a year. Maybe it'll be Monte Carlo if I get it right. I don't know. I've just started another one. I did just mint my Cove Hive project, which is the project I had in Martha, the prints.
Oh, cool.
Because that was never fully on chain, and that always bothered me that I never put the code on chain, because everything else I've done is fully on chain.
Yeah.
And I don't think it meant
That was a beautiful project.
Thank you. So yeah, I just think it's good practice to put it fully on chain. I don't think it makes it better art. I just think it's just shows that you taking the time. So anyway, I've just put it through my studio contract. So and there's still, that project was a physical first project, in the sense I used to sell it through to art fairs and stuff to try and sell to a wider audience, but that's hard going. So
That is hard going, man.
But they're available on your website, right? The physicals?
So sorry?
Are the physicals available on your website?
So yeah, so the physicals are all printed. It's but it's now finally on OpenSea, so you can buy the NFT and get the physical with it, rather than the other way around. But it's going to be a project that I'm in no hurry to sell it. Really, it's just it's kind of like my go-to. If I can show somewhere, I think it's the best sort of printed project I've ever done. So I'd like to show it at a few more places before I sell them. So I'm in no hurry to sell it. But again, there's a big discount for anybody who's like a loyal holder of my work. I haven't exactly specified what that means, but I'd have to look at their wallet. So awesome. So that's my only real plug. I may do an NFT version of the card game at some point, just as a pure sort of like art game.
That'd be good for something like Shape. I feel like their chain's built for gamification.
On an L2 or something that would just be fun and accessible. But it worked. It worked better than I'd hoped. People seem to have real fun with it. Well, if the conditions are right, I found like if I met a bunch of, say, 10 people who were already together and gave them all 10 cards, it worked so well. It kept them busy and entertained for like an hour or so. So there was a lot of trading going on in airports and stuff on the way home. And
that's fun.
If you've got to figure out a way to do a pack opening website,
right?
People love ripping packs,
right? Yeah. I would sell them in essentially kind of bundles of 10 or something. So
yeah,
I've got to try at a local school before long. So I got this local high school. My neighbor is a high school teacher, so we're gonna take the cards in and get the kids trading.
Awesome. Nice.
Get secretly art pill them. Get them.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
Love it.
So
good testing.
Yeah. But really, this winter's coming, so going into hibernation mode now, and we'll just I don't know.
Time to hunker down, get some cocoa, and code some art.
It's the holidays. I feel like everyone's gonna be traveling, doing drops in November, December. It never goes well because everyone's just so busy.
I mean, maybe there might be a drop that goes well.
Sorry, Adam.
Just because maybe I'm doing another one, soon.
Just got to time it right in the middle of Christmas and Thanksgiving.
You know what? I'm making sure to do it after Basel. It's after Basel.
So, great.
Don't worry.
Okay, good.
Okay. Whew, there it is. There's always something.
Do great.
All right.
Are you guys going to Basel?
I am not going to Basel this year.
Not this year. I've gone the last 4 years. This is the first year I'm going to sit out. I know. I would say I am showing work at an event, which is cool. But between Thanksgiving travel and all this other stuff, I just can't. I didn't see enough of a reason to go this year, but I'm sure it'll be great. And I know that it's going to be a big year for a lot of artists that are showing the work at the Basel event itself. And so I'm rooting for that to be a big success.
Yeah, that looks amazing. What Eli put out right there.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
It's going to be cool.
It looks cool. Yep.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you, Harvey, for joining us this lovely Friday and diving in on your work.
Thanks
really
for having
appreciate it. Absolutely. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. We will have links to all the stuff later on our Twitter. Next week is going to be a very special episode because it will be our 50th episode. And we're going to have our first repeat guest, and we're going to do some fun stuff for next week. But yeah, until then, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful, artful Friday. Take care.